Hey everybody, happy Sunday. This is Sports Fanatic News. I'm Joe Borick. This is a look ahead to our Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants. Well, we all know the Giants sit at 2-11 as the Eagles sit at the reverse record, 11-2 coming into this game. This is Nick Foles' first start of the season, and there's actually a really cool, get off track for a second, there's a really cool billboard if you go down into the city that says, we trust you, St. Nick. I believe that's what it says when you drive down to the sports complex. Eli, of course, has been struggling this year. He's been back and forth. Not everything lies on Eli, though. Their wide receivers have been injured all season. Their defense has been injured most of the season. But his numbers still are not too high. He only has 15 touchdowns and 9 picks for an 82.4 rating. But when people keep saying how bad you're doing, an 82.4 rating is actually not that bad. Because you would think his ratings like DeShone Kizer's or something with how bad people are talking about how he's playing. He has 2,639 yards and 15-9. Foles, of course, didn't throw a touchdown last week. He only came in, he did 10 of 14, so he had a lot of completions in his passes, and he had 90.8 rushing, or 90.8 rating. The Giants' defense, when it comes to rushing, allows 130 yards, which is 31st in the league, and of course, without Carson Wentz in having the X factor that can spin away if our O-line has a bad play or two. The Eagles are definitely going to mix in a lot more runs, and this is the defense that you should be able to easily do that with, as long as you can get your blocks down and really block people and play very well. It should be pretty simple to mix in runs against the New York Giants, who are one of the subpar, to say the least, rush defenses in the NFL. Now, their pass defense also isn't very good at 265.7 yards per game, which still puts them at 31st. So this should be a game that if we can get our run game going, we can run a couple play actions, get the ball down the field, spread the ball, Nick Foles is actually a very good quarterback at spreading the ball down the field once we can mix in the run and get everything going. So this is a big game for him to be able to get comfortable against a struggling Giants defense. And this is obviously a big game for the Eagles defense to be able to carry us a little bit so we can get our offense right back on the field and keep going, because Nick Foles and the rushing game should have a good game against the New York Giants. There's no reason to think not, unless if we come out and take the team for granted, but we're not in any position to do that because we're trying to clinch home field advantage to have the playoffs up to the Super Bowl, of course, if we get there, go through the link. Alshon Jeffrey is our leading receiver to Sterling Shepard for the Giants. Shepard only has 1 touchdown on the year, while Jeffrey has 8, so that shows the big gap line of how much the Giants wide receivers are struggling this season. The game today is supposed to be about a freezing level at the start of the game, and the last game, the Eagles, of course, won 27-24 on that long field goal by Jake Elliott. Now, the Eagles averaged 390.5 total yards per game, which is third of an offense. They averaged 31.1 points, which is first, 45.3 third down percentage, which is third, while the Giants only have a 33 third down percentage, which is 29th in the league. And they also only averaged 15.3 points, which is also 31st, and 90.1 rushing yards. That's the big thing. They have a struggling rushing game. So Dark was probably shouldn't get anything going against the Eagles defense. The Eagles struggled with Todd Gurley last week on the rushing defense, but that's also Todd Gurley, who's a freak talent, who's one of the better backs in the NFL. And the Giants, it would be pretty bad if they struggle against any backs on them because they're not in the top tier by any stretch. The passing yards is 206.1, so that's a bit better, but that's still 22nd. if we look at the Giants' division record, it's 0-4 to ours being 4-0. So let's make sure we keep that at 0 at an Ofer and get it to 0-5. This game starts today at 1 o'clock. If we look at the favorites, the Eagles are considered 7.5 favorites, and this should be a good game that can get Nick Foles comfortable, get the offense comfortable running under Nick Foles, and get the defense back to playing stellar again. Even though they played very great last week, they, of course, in post-game said there were a couple plays they think they could have tightened up, especially on the run game, but we're also not playing a team that has a Todd Gurley this week, so that should be extremely helpful. Let's go Eagles. This has been a look ahead to the Eagles and the New York Giants. Peace out, everybody. Sports Fanatic News. I'm Joe Vore.